Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hi. It is Rashida coming back with you again. And today we are talking about what to do if you want to leave an increasingly authoritative and fascist country for a couple of years. Just for no reason. Just coincidentally. If you're part of, maybe 92% of people who as a collective didn't want to see what's happening now. And you're like, I don't like the way this looks up close. I know I wouldn't like how it looks further away, but it'd be less intense. We're talking about that today. So hi, welcome. If you're here, say hi so I know you're here. If you're watching this on the replay, say hi so I know you made it. Good morning to the members of my membership who are here already. Olayinka, Aileen, Shan, all the way from London. Comfort, Denise. Good morning, Miss Stephanie Perry. Molly, Valerina, Danielle, Sharon. Retirement by Design. Hey to everybody. I hope y'all are doing well. Olinka got here early. I hope you made it back here after you were here early, an hour early. Okay, so every time I do this, someone is like, why should Black people leave the US? And this video, as always, isn't to convince you to do anything you don't want to do. I don't. There's no fee. I don't get a bonus, a monetary bonus anytime a Black woman leaves the US. I get an emotional bonus when women I have helped, Black women who I have helped leave the US, when I see them around the world, I get an emotional bonus. I will say that. Get a little boop. Yesterday, I ran into someone who is in our Exodus ASAP coaching program. I ran into her in a park here in Mexico City. It's my first time meeting her in person. Bonus. Hi, Barbara. So, I'm not recruiting. There is no cult. I'm not trying to steal women from their homes. But if you're ready to go, hi, I'm your girl. Good morning. Okay, so what would you do? So this video really is about for people who don't want to leave the US long term. You don't want to leave the US for a really long time, but you want to leave the US for maybe the next 4 years. Maybe next 8, because girl, who knows what's happening after this. If that's who you are and what you want to do, this video is for you. So hi, sit down, take your shoes off. And then let's get comfortable. So this is going to be a group project. So we'll talk about the group project part later on. LH says she's ready to go yesterday, which I want to talk about. This isn't about you, LH. I say this all the time. It's not about you. This is about all of us. If you're ready to go and you have not, if you're ready to go and you have not gone yet, I kind of want to know what's in your way. What is the thing that is in your way that if you didn't have that, you would be gone? If this thing wasn't in your way. Sometimes the thing in our way is us. Who here can admit that the thing in your way is you? Anyone? No one? You're not sending your own way? I stood in my own way for a while. I think for me, Taisha said lack of knowledge. We're here. You're in the right place. TJ says still working on money. LH says you're in your own way. Yes, it happens a lot. And for me, for a long time, I didn't realize the possibilities. You know what I mean? I really like it, especially when I was on my career break and I was traveling for a year. I didn't realize that I could move abroad. Not that it sounds weird, right? But generally, until you have the idea of moving abroad, if you're not seeing people move abroad just because, it's not a thing that actually you think about. It's not that it seemed impossible or that it seemed possible. It just wasn't something that I ever considered, right? And then I did. And so I did. A bunch of y'all are in your own way, in ways you may realize, in ways you may not. Thank you for admitting it in the comments. All right, let's get to the point of the video. All right. I moved abroad after taking a break. I traveled around the world for a year. And on that year around the world, I realized that my entire life changed. It didn't matter what country I was in. It didn't matter what country I was in. Everywhere felt better than America. Now, I was a foreigner in foreign land, so it's not like I had the responsibilities that people in that country right normally have, and I realized that's a privilege. But everywhere I went felt better. And some of that is just that the stressors and the burdens that we are used to in America and the ones that we kind of like trade off for like the American life for, when the stressors are gone and you realize how good life, your body can feel, your life can feel, you realize that the US isn't all it's cracked up to be. If there's anything that makes you realize the US isn't what it's cracked up to be, it's going somewhere and feeling like the people in that country feel, or like feeling the weight of the US get off your back. Amazing. Truly, like knowing that, like when I was in Europe, when I was in Spain and I wanted to get dinner at 5:30 and I couldn't because the restaurants ain't open up till 8. Everywhere I go, I'd be like, where's an open restaurant? The only open restaurant I can find is McDonald's. What is going on? Because they take a break, right? They learn to slow down and they take a break. And just that type of life where like you don't, if you run a business, a store, a restaurant, you don't have to be open all the time, right? If you were someone who runs one of those businesses, imagine how that would feel if you could just be like, and every day we shut down for hours instead of waiting for 1 or 2 customers to straggle in. Now me, I was like, but I'm hungry now. And if y'all know me, you know when I'm hungry, the moment I'm hungry, it's time to deal with this because we have 3.2 seconds before I'm hangry. It's a real quick boop, boop, from one to the other. But seeing how people lived those lives and lived like more, maybe with less, and I'm putting that in quotes. I'm putting less in quotes. Maybe with less, but lived what seemed like more fulfilled, more happier lives, made me realize that like living in America wasn't for me. Now, if you're watching this channel, if you know me, a lot of you guys are regulars that are watching it live right now. You know this already. You know that like living abroad has changed my life and it's changed a lot of people's lives. Let's talk about it. One way to move abroad or to take a vacation from the US for the next 4 years, if you're not going to move permanently, this is for people who are not moving permanently, you're moving for 4 years. This is not saying you won't be in the US at all. Maybe you'll come back. Maybe some midterm elections will bring you back. Maybe they won't. Right? Maybe you'll come back in 4 years. Maybe you won't. If you live outside of the US for 4 years, it's unlikely you'll come back. Trust me. But we're going to pretend that you've already come back. So one of the best things I did at the start of my 4 years was walk away from the career I'd built, which sounds crazy. It sounds like that's part of like the American exceptionalism that you have to leave behind when you leave the US. And it's really good for you to leave behind. I had a career. I was a lawyer. I was a lawyer who had a very niche practice. And so very few people in the country could do what I did. But I was like, but I'm not happy, right? I'm making the money, doing the things. I'm not happy. I decided to take a break from my career. And I was like, I'll figure out money later. That's not going to work for everybody, but it would work for a lot more of you than you like to give yourselves credit for. And I know this. I said, I will. There's my blanket. I would take a break for a year and then come back and find a job in my field. Jobs, very few people, like I said, very few people do what I did, which also meant there were very few jobs, because if there were more jobs, more people would do it. But I didn't want to do what I was doing at the time. I didn't want to, when 2018, when I left, I couldn't have worked in 2018 or 2019. I needed to take time off. So like, I'll take time off and then come back. Yes, I'm getting comfortable with my desk blanket. So I knew I was going to take a break from my career. And that might sound scary. I see it a lot with people who are like, I'm a nurse. And because they've invested all the time in nursing, they're like, I can only leave if I get a nursing job. And I want us to open up our perspectives a bit and figure out if you actually like nursing, right? Do you actually like, is it like, I want to stay a nurse because I really, really love nursing, and fill in the blank with whatever it is you do? Do you really want to keep doing that because you love it? Or is it because you spent the time, you've gotten the degrees, it's what you do, it's what you know how to do, it's easy for you to do, the money's good? If you're not like, nursing is my calling and I love it and I don't want to do anything else with my life, okay, I get it. But if you're like, meh, it pays the bills, it's a great time to figure out what else you might do, right? It's a great time to figure out what are the other things that you can do with your time, your talents, right? For me, I started my own business. I didn't I didn't plan on starting a business, but people asked me to help them do a thing they knew I knew how to do, and I started doing it for free. And then eventually I started charging people, because doing things for free for strangers generally sucks. Not because like, we should all get paid for the work we do. We should all value people when they do work for us. It's the valuing people when they do work for us that there's a gap when it's a lot of times when it's free. Because I'd be like, oh, I have to leave having fun with my cousin, doing hood rat stuff outside with my cousin, and I got to go home because I have a meeting with this person. Like, I can't even say client because you're not paying me, so you're not a client, right? And now you're not showing up to the call. Now you're not showing up. Anyway, so I did it for free for a while. People kept asking for more, and I started charging, and then it was a business, right? That's all. That's how I got to where I am today. People. So what is the thing that people ask you that you know how to do that people ask you about? One way to take a break from the career that you think has you tied to America. One is just take a break and not work. And some of y'all have the money to do it, and you'll fight. You'll be like, but I'm saving that money for, How close are you to breaking? How close are you to breaking? If you're close to breaking, if you're close to your breaking point, take a break before you get there. Use that money for your mental health. I used money to travel for a year without working. And the physical improvements in my health, the improvements in my mental health and my physical health shifted my worldview. Absolutely shifted my world. Not working for a year, say it 1,000 times, not being in the US and not working for a year saved my life. I don't know about y'all. That's where I was. One way to take a break, one way to leave the US for a year, the thing that often holds us back is work. One way is to stop working. And we'll talk more logistics in a little while. But as far as like the money, do the math. I say this all the time. Do the math, do the math, do the math. Do the math, figure out how much it might cost you to live for a year, and then Do the math. Katrina just did a year, and I forget what number she said, but Katrina just did a year abroad. Stephanie, are you here? Do you remember what Katrina said? I'm pretty sure it was under 20,000 to live abroad. I want to say 14, but I could be getting that confused with Stephanie's 14 that she did 14,400. She spent a year abroad in 36K. Very much, it's not that low. I was wrong. It's 36K, which is what I spent on my year abroad in 2018. And Katrina could still live abroad for a year for 36K. She's been in Southeast Asia Katrina's been in Southeast Asia for a few months. So that number will probably be even lower next year. $36,000 is what she spent of her savings to live abroad and not work for a year. Now, if she had been working, right, how much would she have to work to make that 36K? Right? Usually when we live in the US, we're trying to get a lot more than that. Right? We got bills to pay, right? Car notes, mortgages, trying to get a lot more. But 36 in 2023 to 2024, she spent $36,000 traveling the world for the year. And in that time, she went to Africa, multiple places in Africa. Did she go to Europe? She was in Asia. She was all over the place. She traveled around from country to country. If you wanted to stay in one space, that number could even be cheaper because she was paying for flights in that number. Right. Stephanie says she was guessing that's just her housing and utility costs in the DMV. Katrina used to live in the DMV. Yeah. Before the world turned upside down a few years ago and travel, airline prices went a little crazy. I used to say that whatever my rough estimate was, the amount you're paying for housing is probably what you can live on around the world for a year. It's probably your housing number. I don't know, but I don't know, but I can still confidently say that because if you're going to a bunch of different places, flights, whatever, but generally, I think you can live on your current housing cost. If you live in the US, your current housing cost, you can live the same or better quality of life for your housing costs in the US elsewhere in the world. Yeah. Okay. So if you're worried about money, if you're worried about the job, and I say this because every time I'm in any Facebook group of people who have moved abroad or want to move abroad, the number one thing people talk about is, but where will the money come from? Which is one of the 8 steps in our Peace Out protocol that we use in Exodus ASAP, which I'm going to talk about later when we get to places. We'll talk more about that. But yes, where will the money come from is a big factor. Another one of our steps in our Peace Out protocol is what will it cost? A lot of people never calculate what it will cost them to move out of the United States because they think the cost of living abroad is the same cost as vacation. So if taking your family to, I'm going to say Mexico because I live in Mexico. If taking your family to Mexico for a week costs $3,000, flights, hotels, all of that. Your family of 4 to Mexico, maybe it costs $4,000. You're like, I can't spend $4,000 every few weeks in Mexico. It's a completely different, right? Completely different. You're not eating out all the time, right? You have a fridge, so you're eating at home some of the time. You're not flying back and forth to different countries all the time. You're not staying in hotels or Airbnbs, so the housing cost is lower. The cost of living abroad in some places will blow your mind. It will blow your mind. The places I'm seeing are people in our community, in the Exodus Summit community. I'm seeing photos of apartments in Asia, like Thailand, like Bangkok. and Chiang Mai, I'm seeing apartments. And I'm like, you're getting all that for like $500? Woof, woof, woof. Right? You can live a nice life outside of the US at a low cost of living. And it doesn't, I want to be clear, that doesn't come at the cost of other people. Like, that doesn't mean that you're hurting people in the community by living a nice life at a low cost of living. Okay, so we were talking about waste. We talked about like cost. I skipped ways to get money through. In the middle of that, I threw in cost of living. But the next thing I wanted to say about, cramp. All right. I want to share, if you didn't see Stephanie's video yesterday, I want to share that with you because it was really good. It was really good. And it was about, let me tell you what it was called. It was called 9 Gig Jobs for Black Women to Quit America. So if you want to quit America, if you are watching this video, you probably want to leave America. She's talking about gig jobs that you can do from outside of the US, right? Everyone, most of the time, is like, I need a remote job. My job won't let me work remote. We gotta leave that box. You gotta leave the remote job box. And so if you can find a work from anywhere job, blessings. Go enjoy your life. But if you're struggling to find a work from anywhere job and you've looked at resources available, maybe you've talked to Libria Jones, the remote work queen, you still can't find anything, I'll drop a link for her resources in a minute. But if you're having problems with that, get out of the box. Get out of the box. So gig work. Stephanie talked about that yesterday on her video. I'm dropping that here. And then something I wanted to, okay, I'm gonna talk about that. There's something else I was gonna say a minute ago. Good work. Oh, Libria. Quit commuting. Give me 1 second. And I'll drop a link to Libria's remote ready bundle. So if you haven't started your remote work from anywhere, remote work. If you haven't started your remote work search yet, and you need to start your remote work search, I would start with Libria's remote work bundle. If you start your remote work search and you haven't found it yet, you start thinking outside the box. Can you do gig work? If you only need to make maybe $2,000 a month, maybe $3,000 a month, right? If you're in one place, if you're staying in one place for a long time and it's an inexpensive place, you don't need $3,000 a month. You don't need $36,000 a year. If you only need to make $24,000, if you intentionally move yourself to a place where you can live a happy and full and abundant life on $2,000 a month, $24,000 a year. So you only need to make $2,000 a month. Would the gig work that you could do feel different, look different? In the very first Exodus Summit, we interviewed Asia, who moved with her son from Atlanta to Puerto Vallarta. Asia's in the video that I did called, oh please, woman with low paying jobs, or like not a lot of money moving abroad. That's not the name of it. I'm gonna give you all the name of it in a minute. But what would I call it? What would I call it? Where would it be? Oh, Big Move, Little Money. I'm gonna drop that link here. If you haven't seen it yet, these are women who moved abroad. Asia had $2,000 when she moved abroad. She moved to Mexico. She didn't wait to have $20,000 to move to Mexico. She had $2,000 to move to Mexico. And the only reason she had $2,000 was because she The $2,000 was for next month's rent in her apartment in Atlanta, and she left and put I used the $2,000 to build a new life in Mexico. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is that two things at once. I can do two things at once. The point is that Asia, when she moved abroad, her and her son, she was doing gig work. She was using Fiverr, and then she started having her own clients who reached out to her or whatever from Fiverr and from other places. And she had to work 5 hours a week to support the lifestyle her and her son had in Mexico. She worked 5 hours a week. If you're working 40 hours a week now, you're probably really working 45 to 50, my friends, right? And while 5 hours a week isn't no work, 5 hours a week probably sounds a lot better than whatever it is you're doing right now. So Aileen just came back from Mazatlan with her husband. So food for 1 week at home for two of them, not just one person, was $25. Two people, groceries for a week. Two people. How much is your grocery bill this week? The last time you went to the grocery store, if you think about the number it would be for two people, what would that number have been? Drop it in the chat. Let us know. As a mom in another country, she worked 5 hours a week to support herself and her son. Life-changing. It's life-changing, right? So the gig work video Stephanie did yesterday, think about that with the context of that video that I dropped earlier. Traveling the diaspora said she just spent $175 for two people. Celeste says $200. CK says $700 for a month. Aileen could do $100 for a month in Mazatlan. Sabrina says $200. $300 barely covered her 96-year-old grandma. Because with prescriptions too, child. Anyway, yes, cost of livings differ so greatly that while gig work might sound like not what you don't want to do in the US, it might be exactly what you need outside of the US, right? Instead of worrying about getting a job that you can work overseas. So like you're not going to leave until you get a remote job that you can work overseas. And then you get the remote job and it's at least 40 hours a week, right? And now you have all this work and you have all this money, but you don't have all this free time. So you're not enjoying your life overseas as much as you might if you got a gig economy job where you could work maybe 10 hours a week. Maybe. Which would and that's something we have to choose. It's like the choice I made when I gave up my career. I could have a lot more money if I was still a lawyer. I could also be in the ground. Like seriously, right? The stress of that job, I could be in the ground. And I don't make money for other people to enjoy it. Let's be very clear. I do not make money for people to spend it when I'm gone. I make money for me to spend it now. Hi. No, I make money for me to spend it now. That's why I work. Because I eat. Because I shop. I make money to spend it now. So having a high-paying job that is going to prematurely end my life is not for me anymore. It was for a while. I don't want that for you either. And not because I feel like the choice I made is the choice that's right for everybody or the choice that is right. Like I don't think it's the right choice, right? I don't think that like this is the answer. I think it's the answer for me and it's the answer for a lot of you. It's the answer for a lot of you. Mm-mm. If I can work less because I need less money, sign me up. All right, sign me up. So that gig work video, make sure you watch it. Make sure you think about how much money you actually need. Okay. And then let's figure out how we're doing the math. Like I said, do the math of how much money you have. A lot of people have more money than they think. People always be like, oh, I forgot about this pension, or I forgot about this investment account. Oh, I left a 401k at this old job from 15 years ago. I didn't realize it was there. I had a client once who was like surprised by $300,000. Now, I wish a positive $300,000 surprise on you. Might don't happen, but I hope it does. I hope it does. Family Chaos, thank you for super chat. I've starred your comments. I will get to it later, but I want to stay where we are right now, please and thank you. But I'm definitely think you had raised a great question. All right, so Stephanie went to the pharmacy in Tijuana. Les's $30 US prescription was $3, and the pharmacist said take 6 tubes for 20. That math don't math, girl. Is that what they said? Because 6 tubes should be 18. I know the pharmacist didn't overcharge you. Was it 7 for 20? $333. Okay, thank you. I was like that math is not mathing to me. All right, do the math. Do the math. Thank you for the super chat. The pounds. I'll put some pounds on packet. Shan, I need to figure out how to get my UK passport, and they playing with me with these applications. I need to talk to you. Actually, yes, I do need to talk to you about something. Thank you. All right. If do the math on how much money you actually have, do a fearless accounting of what's in your life, right? If you have a car and you're leaving for 4 years and there's a positive balance on that car, sell the car, right? Anywhere there's money, figure out how to get that money, get to the money. Do the math of how much you have, do the math of how much it will cost, and that will change your perspective. That will change your perspective completely. Okay. Now, D has a word for you. A lot of y'all have money that is underperforming. It sounds like you should be watching Brown Girls Invest too, so you can learn more about how to make your money perform a little better. Floater by PNW said, I just spent $200 for an inhaler, but cost €9 in Europe and $4 in Mexico. I saw a story lately of a man. He looked like a white man, a young man. I think it's like the Washington Post, which, U.S. newspapers are crap. But anyhow, I know this is not the first person this has happened to, but they decided to highlight him. Y'all already know why. I've already told you why they decided to highlight him. This young white man died because his inhaler was now $500 and he couldn't afford it. Died of, I think, of asthma. Dying because you can't afford an asthma inhaler that costs the equivalent of maybe $11 in Europe and $4 in Mexico. But it's $500 in the US. That's crazy. That's a country that does not care about you. A country that would allow its people to die for a inhaler that truly at the end of the day don't cost more than $4 is a country that does not care about you. At all. Does not care if you live or you die, they just want the money. And going to other places and seeing that you can get the exact same medication made by the exact same company, exact same ingredients, formulation, everything. You can get it at maybe even 1/100th of the cost is what I mean when I say moving abroad will change your perspective of life in the US. They just will. Octavia says, this is my experience working in the US. I know it's a lot of your experiences too. My current job expects a minimum of 50 hours per week, but still only pays salary equivalent of 40 hours per week. Of course. Of course, I'm having to work 60 hours to finish assignments on time, 5 hours a week stream. Yes. And Octavia, whatever it is you're doing for 60 hours a week, I bet you that is a skill you could do for other people or other companies as a consultant and charge enough to only work 5 hours a week. Maybe 7. Maybe when you start out, you start charging a lower number. So it's 10 hours a week for you. But it's not 60. Whatever it is you're doing, whatever it is that company needs you to do, other people need you to do it too. The thing your job, all of you, the thing your job needs you to do, other people need it too. And if you leave that job, and if other people leave those jobs, they will be hiring other people. They may not be hiring outside people. Some of the people in our community have been left a job and had the same job hired them as a consultant to do it at a much higher rate than what they were paying them when they were in the US. Because when you're in the US, your job usually comes with healthcare. Insurance. It comes with insurance because if you don't have insurance, you can't afford to live. You might die, right? That cute little rusty handcuff they clamp on your wrist, right? That's not a golden handcuff at all. You might die without it. And so, yay, you get insurance. Outside of the US, you don't need, generally, you don't need to worry about health insurance. In some places, it just comes with the right to live there. In some places, in a lot of places, going and getting care, medicine, treatments out of pocket is so affordable, you still don't need to worry about insurance. So you can make less money or make more money. You can charge more money as a consultant without getting the healthcare, the insurance that they would normally pay for, and still come out ahead. I want y'all to come out ahead. That's why we're doing this. All right. What am I? Also, living, someone just, where did that go? True, get it. Close to 300 people were deported from the US to Canada, and based on a recent Washington Post article, most are looking to return to the US. I don't get it. Living in a place where you have to have your freedom papers on you at all times, or without any kind of due process, any kind of research, any kind of here's how I can prove that I belong, I have rights. They just put you on a plane to a prison? A terrible prison with hard labor in a country you've probably never been to before? How would you get out of prison in El Salvador? How would you do it? What lawyer would you call? Who would come help you? What resources would you need when they look at you and say, by the look of your tattoo, I know you're in a gang? Because if they'll do it to brown people, they'll do it to Black people. If they will do it to brown people, they will do it to Black people. You have a name tattooed on your arm. Clearly, you're in a gang. And now you're in Nicaragua, in jail. You've been disappeared because you didn't have your Social Security card. One of those guys that they deported had his Social Security card in his wallet. But before asking him, he was put in cuffs and they took his wallet without any can you prove to us you belong here? It was, you look like a foreigner. Click, click. Y'all deserve better than a country like that. You really deserve better. It really, you deserve to live in a country where people have some kind of rights. And I know a lot of countries people don't, but they might ask a question. If I have my Social Security card in my wallet, why would I be in handcuffs? Because I don't belong, because I'm here illegally. They were, like Adelia says, they were kidnapped by the US government. It's absolute, that's not deportation. Deportation is a process. Deporting someone is a process that has steps. Rounding people up, skipping the process, taking them anywhere is kidnapping. Anyway, that's not the point of this video. Y'all already know. I'm just saying, y'all deserve better. Anyway, so we talked about taking a break, no work. Creating your own business. The thing that people ask you for help with, start charging people. Start putting in processes in place. Add a Calendly so they have to schedule. Connect your Calendly to a PayPal so they have to pay. Yes, you can do children's hair. Yes, you can help with homework. Yes, you can do these things. If you can do them for free, you can do them for money. All right, get a remote job. I linked to Libria. If you're watching this channel, you already know Libria. That's a homegirl. She's very good at helping people get remote work. I dropped the link to that. And then Stephanie's video from yesterday about gig work. Right? We're doing things. We're getting money because we're not going to say, and we're also going to release the idea that the thing we've been doing is the thing we have to do. Just because you've been doing something doesn't mean you have to keep doing something, especially if it's not serving you right now. I always see women say, it's nursing is the one thing where they're like, I'm a nurse. I can't move. But I hardly ever see nurses saying, this is the most satisfying experience of my life. I want to do this forever. So what are we talking about? What are we talking about? If it's not making you happy, why do you have to keep doing it? You invested a lot in getting here, but you don't have to stay there. You don't. Mm-mm. All right. Mm-mm. Okay, so I think a really important step for you if you want to leave the US, if you want to leave anywhere, one thing to do is give yourself a deadline. It's March 2025. With the way I see things going, my question would be, how do I get out by May? It's March. It's go. That man got his government job in January. He started work at his government job in January and immediately said, government employees ain't shit. Immediately. Immediately, this man who does nothing but golf all day said, government employees aren't actually working. Let's fire them all. Knowing that government work has been, in a lot of places, has been how Black people have been able to lift themselves up out of poverty, out of the situations that the government created the first time. Why was the starting point poverty? Because free labor was extracted for what is in the scale of American history forever, really, forever. Got his government job and was like, nah, these government employees ain't doing nothing. Anyway, pick a date that's soon. Pick a date that's soon. And the reason I want you to pick a date that's soon, and that's why my day would be, if I was still in the US, I would be like by May. Before the end of May, I'm out. That gives me 2 months to get it together. And out doesn't mean you have your final plan, you know everywhere you're going to go. Out means you've tied up enough loose ends in the US that you feel comfortable with your body somewhere else. Right? That's what I want for you. Because we're seeing countries already, like Mexico, changing the rules about people, changing the rules that really impact Americans, right? Changing the ways that we can get, all people can get residency, but knowing that a good percentage of the people impacted are Americans. We're seeing people, I don't know that a year from now, this blue passport will have as much power as it did 5 years ago, that it will be as strong as it will. I don't know if other countries aren't going to be like, you used to have visa-free entry into our country, but that was before you started kidnapping our citizens who are in your country legally. Like, you saw that all those people are here on their, yesterday they decided the people who are here on their 2-year amnesty program, legally in the country, in 30 days they'll now be illegal. Imagine flying here with a sponsor with 2 years to be here legally. And then which in that time, I'm assuming there was going to be some kind of move to like a more permanent residence. And then someone snaps their fingers and now you either have to leave or get deported. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. I can imagine these countries being like, oh, Americans, y'all used to get visa-free entry. You didn't have to jump through hoops before, but now that you're kidnapping our citizens, detaining them at the border, we're not going to make it as easy for you to come in. You don't have the same strength. You don't have the same ability to enter the country if you're treating our citizens bad. I said, why would you? Anyway, I would give myself until 2025. until May of 2025 to get out. You can pick a different date. You can pick any date you want. But if you don't want to be in the country in the next 4 years, you today, first thing you need to do is pick a date by which you'll be out of the country. If you don't pick a date by which you'll be out of the country, you're not going to leave. Your first step needs to be picking a date. Pick a date. Put it on your calendar. Write it down. Write it everywhere. Write it on a Post-it note and put it in multiple places. Put it in the fridge. Put it on the fridge. Put it on the mirror. Write it in a lip liner on the mirror. Stick it to your computer. Just the date, in case you got nosy people, you don't want them to see what you're doing. Pick a date and say, I will be out of the country by then. If you do not pick a date, you will not leave. It'll be next year and you're still there. And Dara said something that I think is important. Oh, where'd that go? Here it is. They're working their way through the most vulnerable people. They're working their way, starting at the people who are most vulnerable, and then they're working their way. They're going to get to you. They're going to get to you. Right? It's not if, it's when. I want you to be out of the country before they get to you. They're going to get to you. So pick a date that's soon. So your passport is still strong. You can go to different countries because we're going to talk about country hopping in a minute. And we're going to talk about, and pick a date before they get to you. And you never know when that's going to be. Because pretty soon they're going to start, just like they're rounding up Native Americans now and calling them illegal immigrants, which is like, the violence in rounding up someone whose family has been on this land since before y'all could even build boats, before y'all got over here, rounding them up and threatening to deport them because they're illegal, because they're brown. And all brown people are alike. No brown people could possibly be here. No brown people could possibly be here legally. Black people, they're going to call you Haitian in a minute and say you got here illegally. And in a minute, they're going to start rounding up, especially darker skinned Black people. And they're going to be the ones who were accidentally snatched up. Don't have an accent. If you're Black with an accent, keep your freedom papers in your wallet. Yes. Okay. So I saw Sabrina said he's already talking about segregation. He ended the. I hate saying he did anything because most of the things he's doing by executive order, he can't actually do by executive order. So it's kind of like, remember that episode of The Office where Michael was like, I declare bankruptcy. And it's like, no, you can't. That's not how that happens. But when no one's stopping him, that is how it happens. Right? When people are acting like this all makes sense. Okay, sure. Great. Cool. That is exactly how it happens. There's a law that companies that contract with the government can't segregate their facilities. Now, do you all know, y'all might remember that some car manufacturer in California got in a lot of trouble, was known for having segregated facilities and got in trouble for that. A man who owns a car company, who seems to be close with the government, who loves government contracts and has made most of his wealth off of government contracts, is known for having segregated facilities. And all of a sudden, it's okay to have segregated facilities and be a government contractor. Hmm. 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 Anyway. It's not when fascism comes, it's here. It's smiling. It's waving. Get up. Anyhow, oh, regional sky girl. Hey, hey girl. Hey, several flight attendant friends and I have been quietly getting all of our little ducks in a row to leave. We've all kind of had soft landings in different places in Central America. Yes, yes, yes. Get a place. Get a place. Find your place. Okay. Lindsay says, my dad has a thick Cajun accent. I have him walking around with this copies of his paper. Yeah. It's truly terrifying. They're going through your phones at the border now. And if you said anything bad about Air President, you might not get into the country. So, like, the freedom of speech is gone. Is that what it is? Any hoodle. Okay. So what I love, the thing that makes me chuckle the most is when a man born and bred in apartheid is like, South Africa's not being fair to me because I'm white. Oh, so treating people differently because they're a different race is okay if white people get the good treatment and Black people get the bad treatment. Otherwise, you shouldn't treat people differently because of race. Oh, because you seem to be okay. You have segregated work facilities. You're okay with treating Black people differently from white people until you feel like you're not getting the best possible treatment. And then it's a problem. Okay. All right. Okay. So we started talking about what to do. You set a date because it's not getting better. Even like this week, I saw that like a very large law firm that, as much as people don't love lawyers, this is the time that we need lawyers to push back on things and to take pro bono cases and to do things so like they can support the people who are kidnapped, right? That's what you need a lawyer for. And the one of the biggest, most powerful law firms in the country just did a big bow to him the other day because I guess he was like, if you don't do what we say, which is ending all DEI activity, 5% of lawyers in America are Black, and apparently that's too high of a number, or maybe that's at large law firms. Anyway, it's 5%, like 2% of the law firm partners are Black, too high. The U.S. government needs to audit the law firm's hiring practices because 5% is too high. And if they don't get any contracts from the U.S. government, which is important to a large law firm. And they were like, okay, Big Daddy, if you say so. We won't hire those darkies anymore. Five percent of lawyers in the country are Black. And that's too much. In order In order to continue getting government work, it needs to be a lower number. Okay. All right. So point is get your pick a date that's soon. Because if you don't pick a date that's soon, this is going to impact you directly sooner than you think. All right, pick a date that's soon. Think about the different ways that you can get a job, ways you can decrease your costs. Stephanie talks about house sitting a lot. You know that. House sit. If you were in a place with a low cost of living, right? So your food didn't cost that much, and you spent a lot of time house sitting, like someone in our community who was with us in Vietnam did 3 months in a row of house sitting. No, she has a 3-month house sit in Chiang Mai right now, and I think she spent before that 3 months house sitting around in different places in Australia. If you had 3 months of your housing covered at once, how many hours would you have to work? Right? So we talked about the gig economy if your overall expenses are really low. But if you extracted housing from your overall expenses, would you even have to work, or could you already have enough savings that you wouldn't have to work at all? That woman, I don't think she's worked in 2 years. She's, you know what I mean? Like, she is good. Had a small savings, not being in places with a low cost of living or lower cost of living, and not having to pay for housing. It's a it's a it's cheat code. It's cheat code. It really is. It really is. So think about that. How can you get your expenses down? If you didn't have to pay for housing, or maybe you paid for housing like 1 week out of every quarter, what would your cost of living be? Once again, do the math. Start doing the things that align with the life you want. Start doing the things that help you get to where you want to be. Right? Now, some people are great at bopping around. We're going to talk about that. And some people want to be really, some people want to have really stable, set lives. And so I'm going to talk about those two things. Bam, I have not forgotten your question, but we are not there yet. And we'll get to it. Okay. So if you want to be in one place for a really long time, and I'm actually going to get to TJ's comment real quick, because I think it's important. I don't know TJ. So this, once again, is not about her. But she said, I feel so insecure not having a home base while traveling and walking around. Maybe that's my American mentality. It is. And don't know you, TJ. I'm not saying this is you. But I have also seen it in clients who have at one time or another had some housing insecurity, right? If you have at any time in your life had any kind of housing insecurity, the idea of not having a permanent place to call your own, right, is probably a little terrifying. You're probably like, no, I have to have a home. I was bopping around the world for a while, and I was like, oh no, I need a home. I need one place where I can put my stuff, because I have stuff. I need one place where I can put my stuff. Just one. And that is going to be really important to you. And that's why I think if that is you, if you're a person who's like, I need a home, I will not feel comfortable without a home base, then I think that you're someone who should figure out where you can apply for a visa and get a visa to live long term. Right? Yeah. TJ said that's not her. She's always lived middle class, but it was always told to buy a home. I realize it's BS now. Yes, the idea that I went from owning a home to not owning a home. I've not owned a home in 8 years. 8 years. No, 9 years. I haven't owned a home in 9 years. I haven't owned a car in 16 years. I haven't owned a car, I think, in 16 or 17 years. And when I did own a car, I didn't have a car note for like the last 5 years, maybe 5 years till the wheels fall off, baby. Me in that car. I haven't owned a car in 16 years. I haven't owned a home in 9. By American standards, I'm a bit of a failure, right? Because you're supposed to have a home and a car, and then a bigger home and a bigger car, and then a bigger home and a bigger car, and then a nicer home and a nicer car at all times, because that keeps you in debt, and that keeps you working, and that keeps rich people getting richer. So releasing yourself from the expectations that you don't believe in anymore. Like if you don't think you need to own a home, even if it's been like, I know it's been like pressed on us by society, but if it's also been pressed on you by your family, by your people close to you, recognize that you can let that go, right? And live a better, freer life, right? If you are someone who's like, I need a home, I do not need to own a home. I have an apartment. I love it. It's fine. I've lived here for 5 years. I'm good. If you want a home base, look at where you can get a residency, place you can be for a long term. Like Rwanda has a 10-year visitor visa. You can be in Albania for a year. Georgia. Albania and Georgia? Albania, am I right? Albania and Georgia? You can be there for a year. Georgia, this country. There are places you can go and stay for long terms, even if you don't have the resources you need to get a visa now. You can go to other places and work on getting the visa when you're in other places. Work on getting the visas you want in other places. So a lot of people are rightfully, because the requirements have increased a lot, say that like, oh, the requirements to get the Mexico visa are so high, I'll never make it. You won't make it today. But if you were in Rwanda for 3 years and you really wanted to come back, you wanted to come to Mexico, when 3 of your 10-year visa, if you give a 10-year visa, if 3 years are up, is there a chance, if you've been living at a low cost of living, living a nice life on a low cost of living, and even working, is there a chance you'll have more money saved and you'll be able to get the visa then to Mexico? Maybe, right? Maybe. But you won't get there by holding on to the things. The American ideals keep you in America, right? They keep you locked in, and it's very hard to move away. Tiana Hercules says she loves Rwanda, just not a soft landing as Mexico for a little one, but likely our next stop after a few years. Yeah. Jazzy says belatedly, I realize being a military kid and moving every 6 months makes me uncomfortable without a home to return to. Yeah. Yeah. Bridget says it was scary, but I let go of my car and apartment, all my things. I have to start somewhere. Yeah. And we don't talk enough about how home ownership is often more burden than blessing. Like having a home, having a place to sleep inside, maybe a little running water, a blessing. but you don't need to own the home. Because owning a home, when I bought my home, the first time, I don't know nothing. I got the inspection. I paid for the home insurance. The house had been, the house was on the market for a long time. The owner moved out, whatever. All the utilities were off. And so they couldn't test any of like the whatever, the water heater, whatever. I got in the house, furnace didn't work. I was like, oh, let me call my home insurance, my home, and I took out this insurance, the whatever plan, American Home Shield. What is that? It's not the insurance. It's that other word. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I called them and they were like, well, the utilities weren't on when you did the home warranty. Yes, I called my home warranty. The first time winter came, I tried to turn the furnace on, furnace didn't work. And they were like, well, the gas wasn't on, so it wasn't tested, so it's not covered by the warranty. And I'm like, if I paid, what if none of the utilities were on? What does the home warranty cover? What does it cover? What y'all do? Anyway, a burden. I needed a roof because my roof was leaking. I needed a new roof. I called my insurance company and they were like, it's covered. It's covered if the damage is from rain, sleet, hail. Your damage is from wind blown rain. So that's not covered. So rain straight down covers it, but rain going to the side is not covered. Huh. Okay. All right. Home ownership. Yes. I saw someone say that you can gain wealth that way. Wealth through property ownership, real property ownership, land, living spaces, etc., is the most bastardized way to make wealth in the US. It is the least community driven way to make wealth in the US. I'm not saying that everyone's doing it wrong. I'm saying that a lot of the country, a lot of the people who are making their money through property ownership are going to hell. Don't take that too personal, right? Don't take that too personal. I might not be talking about you, but the people, who run the corporations, who own millions of units of housing that are empty while people are living in the streets. That's not how I want to make money. I'm not saying that everybody's doing it wrong. I'm saying that the idea of making your money off of what should be a human right, that this is the way you are going to get exorbitantly wealthy, is hoarding what should be a human right. Is not what I want to do with my life. There are extremes. Right? Some people doing it well, right? I rent. I like renting. In order to rent, I have to have a landlord. Is my landlord going to hell? I don't think so. Unless she's doing some stuff I don't know about, but not because of this interaction, right? Not because of me and her. We good. We good over here. But there are extremes, and the way that people are looking at land ownership in the US is unhealthy a lot of times. Okay. All right. We should start a hit list. Like, Rashida said this person is going to. Anyway, I don't. I'm gonna move on. Where's my list? All right, so because they are. Citizens of Spain and Portugal perceive that non-citizens are buying and hoarding properties without renting them at affordable prices. I may just have an unreal perspective. Yes, people are going to other countries and buying up, taking their American ideals to other countries that have not historically done that and ruining real estate markets. Bam, now it's time for your question. Boom, let's go. We're doing this. Bammy. Okay, Bammy, chaos. How to adapt in a foreign country humanely. I've learned locals from Global South suffer gentrification from Western immigrants to drive up prices in place they move to and mistreatment of tourists. Bammy, are you a Black woman? We're not all alike, but we have some things in common generally. I think that the answer to your question is in your question. Don't mistreat people, right? Don't mistreat people. Don't be out to hoard things for yourself. Buying up properties and driving up rental prices or housing prices, those are problems, right? But the answer to your question is in your question. Bammy Chaos, you're a Black trans woman femme. Yes, love it. You're probably not an asshole to other people, right? To strangers. A lot of us think of, and what I mean by that is a lot of us think about how we move through the world because people, a lot of times, as a Black trans femme, you have probably at times in your life been the least privileged person in a space, in a room, in maybe in a lot of rooms and a lot of spaces. And when you move through the world like that, a lot of times, not all the time, a lot of times you consider the people who are less privileged than you when you move around the world. And that's all you can do, right? The answer isn't people are suffering in the global South. And so I'm not going to move because other people are still moving, right? I want you to move and treat people well and think about how what you do impacts the people around you. When I moved to Mexico City, the first thing I did, I made sure my landlord was Mexican. I'm not renting from a foreigner. I'm not doing that. I'm paying a Mexican woman to live in Mexico. Right? I go to the grocery store. The people who bag our groceries at our grocery stores in Mexico, and I don't know if it's all over Mexico, but definitely in Mexico City, are senior citizens. They don't get paid. They work for tips. Even if they don't touch my stuff. Yesterday, I went to the grocery store. 2 days ago, I went to the grocery store. I bought goat cheese. One thing of goat cheese. It cost me 90 cents. No. How much does that cost me? No, it cost me $4. My goat cheese cost me $4. On my way out, the cashier slid the bag, the goat cheese down the line. He would normally bag it, but I didn't have a bag because I was going to put it in my purse. So he's holding it, looking at me like, girl, what am I supposed to do with this? I gave that man 50 cents, the equivalent of 50 cents, just for touching my goat cheese. Because I know I took up space where someone else could have come through with more stuff, right? Like I'm in his line. He has touched my things. I don't go through those lines, right? Unless I have change that I can give someone, because I paid enough attention and found out enough about the city I live in to recognize how I need to interact with the people I'm interacting with, right? I know they work for tips and they only get tips. So whether he bags my groceries or not, he's still getting money from me. Still. Because it's important to me. I was telling my friend is here visiting. I was telling her on a train. Generally here, I ride in the women's only car most of the time on the metro here. And the young women do not get up for the old women. I get up every time. Unless there are other seats available and she's just standing because she wants to. If I'm in a seat on the train and there's a woman who looks a little elderly, now, if she looks like she's 50, I'm probably not getting up because we neck and neck, girl. If she looks like she's 70, I'm getting up because I'm the only foreigner in this train car. And while the 20-year-old next to me might not be getting up, y'all not going to be like, them foreigners aren't be getting up for our abuelas, right? I do the thing, right? Do the thing that makes you a good person. If you in your heart are like, this is what a good person would do, you do that thing. I'm standing up while the 20-year-old next to me is sitting down on her phone. Because you're not gonna say, someone else on the train isn't gonna be like, yeah, girl. Woo. So I was lady on a train today and she made this 80-year-old lady stand carrying her bags and she just rode up. Because I'm visible, I'm a visible foreigner. I'm tipping, I'm standing, I'm doing the things that I think make me a good citizen, a good community member. But that doesn't mean that I don't live here, right? It doesn't mean that, oh, people in the global South suffer when people move, so I'm not going to move. Because the bad people are moving. The bad people are also moving. And they're moving like colonizers. I'm still moving. I'm still living where I want to live. I'm just being as good a person as I can be where I live. I'm just going, I'm moving in ways that are healthy for me. Yeah. So Dara says we can try to not take the American mindset with us, rent local. Issues never buy property for many reasons, but I know that helps with gentrifications. Yes. I try to buy from local individuals and shops. Yes. I'm going to my Tianguis, which is my street market. They don't have goat cheese though, so I went to the grocery store for that. I'm eating local. Do what you can to support the local community, but shrinking your life isn't the answer. Also, the global South is suffering from a lot of things we do in the US, like shopping at Amazon and buying fast fashion. So the global South is suffering from things people are doing in America. You might as well come be in the global South and live a good, supportive, community-driven life. All right. So if you're like, I need a home, I need a long-term home, I want you to start looking at visas, right? Places where you can start getting, thank you for your question, Family Chaos, that was helpful. Y'all gonna keep asking questions when the answer is in the question. Can you speak to how landlords actually contribute to gentrification problem by hiking those rental prices up? Mexico City is a city that is almost, I don't know the actual number, but I would probably say 95 to 99% of the property here is owned by Mexicans who live in Mexico City or somewhere else, right? So if the rent is going up, 99% of the time, it's because a Mexican landlord raised the rent. And so this is a really complex conversation because a lot of times I'm the bad guy for saying that because it's only Americans who are at fault. A lot of times when I have the conversation with people, they are upset at the idea that foreigners are not completely to blame for gentrification. And I'm like, if the foreigners are impacting rent prices because landlords see that there's maybe more demand and maybe more people, the ability to pay higher rents, but they're not actually raising the rent. They're not raising the rent. What's raising the rent is people saying, the other day I saw someone try to sublet a one bedroom in an apartment for $8,000 in Mexico City. And I was like, y'all got to get away from me with this madness. There is nowhere else. I'm actually kind of amused by it. I'm just seeing this troll now. I'm kind of amused. Incompetence? You didn't even choose the right word. You didn't even choose incompetence? Everything about me is amazing. Number one, Rhodey and Peanut Punch. My incompetence is amazing? What's incompetent? Y'all ignore them, truly. Because that's just entertaining to me because there is nowhere else in the world where you have more freedoms than in America. While people are being kidnapped off the streets. This is the kind of brainwashing that you will find in people in your community. And I want you to recognize that this is not a person who has your best interest in mind. And so while we can block them here, but I don't really care because whatever. Block when your family says this. This is a good example. We're using them as an example right now. When your family says there's nowhere else in the world where you have more freedoms than in America, you don't even have to argue. Just mentally block them. That person is not a person you should be going to help create your move abroad plan. That person is not a person you should be going to share your move abroad plan. You live in a place where people are being kidnapped off the streets, where people are being fired without cause. You're going to have people in your life who are real life living trolls. I can block them and they can go away. But I think this is a good example. First of all, incompetence is amazing. You didn't even choose the right word. We got writers in here who can help you up your game. But the second part is just a lie. And some of y'all who are in here, your families are going to tell you the same lie. And it's a lie out of fear. It's a lie that's happening out of fear. Your family still loves you, but they're scared. They're scared for you. There's a couple of different fears that come up in this space. One of them is they're scared that something might happen to you. And so that fear has them saying things that aren't even factually true. And the other thing is that they're scared you're going to leave them behind. They're scared you're going to leave them behind. And because they're scared you're going to leave them behind, they say crazy things. They say crazy things. Because nowhere else in the world has more freedoms than America? That don't sound like delusional, right? Like imagine the delusion you have to truly believe that. Or you don't live in America, right? That's the thought that people have outside of America who've never been in America or spent a lot of time in America. Once you spend a lot of time in America, you know that's not true. You know that's not true. Not for Black people in America. As a Black person in America, when you can feel so much more freedom in other places, you know that's not true. But your people come through, Stephanie DK. It's an industrial lie built on decades of propaganda. And the people in your life, there are people you love who believe that propaganda and will tell you that lie. You have to mentally block them. Conditioned and brainwashed. You have to, okay, and just do what you're going to do. Okay. Katala, another one preaching today. I've come to the conclusion that I have to be the example for my family. Just because we were born and raised in the U.S. does not mean it has to always be our home. It does not. It does not. It's a colonized mind. I want more for y'all. All right. So we're back on topic though. Y'all know I did a little sidebar, a little boop, 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 a little up to the side. We're back on topic and we're talking about places you can bop around because we talked about getting residency. Actually, back to residency for a second. This month, Exodus ASAP is the Move Abroad membership program that I run with Stephanie Perry. And this was residency month. It's over, but it's not really over. It's ending. The residency spotlights we've already done and the replays are available are Mexico, which happened on Friday, and we had a facilitator. We had the facilitator that helped 8 women get residency through regularization during the caravan to Mexico that Stephanie led this week, who knows, last week. And she answered, so we had about 100 women show up to the thing and we answered questions and went through stuff. And we planned for our next caravan to Mexico to get residency in April. If you're interested in caravanning to Mexico to get residency, all the details are inside of 4-year. Oh, Stephanie wanted to let you know that she is a Mexican señorita for 4 años, 4 years. 4 years. Oh, that's a good question. Did anyone see the recent CNBC Move Abroad series that featured a Black American woman who teaches in Amman? That's our friend Nicole. Nicole is part of the larger Move Abroad community. We know her. She is a wonderful, wonderful woman. And so if you can leave a nice comment on that video, she'd appreciate it. I would appreciate it if you can, because she's had some trolls. By the way, if you're here, leave a thumbs up. The caravans are not scheduled monthly. Our facilitator told us that sooner is better because rules might change again and who knows what's going to happen. So we're planning one in May, and that's the only one that we have planned. But we do have women in the community, Black women only, Black women who are planning to caravan down by themselves and go with our guidance, go with a facilitator, but we have worked with, but they're doing it without us. And Stephanie is remembers things I don't remember, which is Nicole spoke at the first summit. Nicole, who's in Oman, who was in that CNBC special. If you see it, please, like I said, leave a nice comment. She spoke at the first summit. So if you're watching this and you're not subscribed, please subscribe. If you're watching this and you haven't given a thumbs up already, give it a thumbs up. Please and thank you. Subscribe, turn notifications, boop, 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 do all the stuff. We appreciate you. Okay, so we talked about Mexico, which was really popular. We had 100 women there on Friday talking about Mexico. And that all the replays are available in the membership if you want to join after one of these happens. We've already talked about to someone who has residency in Jamaica and someone who's working on a residency for Ecuador on a residency visa that sounds not unobtainable, not that hard to get. And then we have my friend was getting a massage in the back room because in home, I think my missus is really good. And I think I'm paying above the market rate for her. I think this is her rate. I think there are other people who charge less. But 90 minutes inside the home, comes to you, table and everything, $60. Now in Thailand, I know the girls in Thailand are like, I can get that for 2 nickels and a big piece of chicken. Yeah. The prices are higher here. I get it. But yes, 90-minute massage in-house. One of the best massages I've ever had in my life, $60. And that's, yes, $6. Boom. All right. So that's what was just happening in the background. Anyway, upcoming, we did Mexico, Jamaica, Ecuador. Ecuador visa sounds not unobtainable. It sounds like it might be one of the easier visas to figure out and get. And the replay is, like I said, in the membership right now. We have upcoming residency spotlights in Thailand, someone who has a digital nomad visa to Thailand, someone who's in France. We have an expert, a lawyer coming in from Panama, and we have someone who has a visa. I think it's a digital nomad visa in Spain. We have someone who has a 5-year residency in Indonesia. She lives in Bali. She'll be coming in, but she's not scheduled yet. And we are trying to get Belize, Portugal, and Costa Rica on the schedule. We'll be doing, so this was a focus on residency month, but we'll be doing it in other countries as well. LH, you said this is for those who get residency based on income. I want to say that most of the residencies we're talking about were not income based. Let me look at that list again. No, wait. Mexico was not income based. Jamaica was not income based. Ecuador is not income based. Thailand was a digital nomad visa. No, it's like a learning visa. She's learning something in Thailand. France is a visa where she can't work. I don't believe it's income based. Panama, the very popular Panamanian visa is usually based on a permanent income, like disability or like military disability or Social Security. It's a pensionado visa. It's usually used for people with a pension, but the amount is $1,000 a month. So if you're 18 or over and you get more than $1,000 a month in a permanent income, annuity, anything like that, you can get that visa. The most popular visa. She's also going to come in and talk to us about different kinds of visas you can get in Panama if you don't qualify for that. I wouldn't qualify for that one. I don't have a permanent income source. The Spain visa will be a digital nomad visa. You will need to have some income, but it's not like you'll need to, it's not generally, my understanding is that they're not looking for you to have a lot of money. Indonesia, the woman in Bali, I don't think that was income based. Belize, no. Portugal, I think that's savings based. Costa Rica, we don't know who we have coming yet, so I don't know what visa we're going to talk about. Let's see. Yes, Christian Jane, 18, Panama, 18 plus. If you got out of the military 30 years at 23 years old with any kind of disability that pays you more than $1,000 a month, you good in Panama. All right. Oh, thank you, Coach Donna Marie, for commenting on Nicole's video. Let's see. So that's what's happening. Stephanie, if you're still here, can you drop the link? You know I can never do that. I just dropped like a straight link, and she drops the links with all of the like information. So if you're interested in our membership program, it's called Exodus ASAP. Our community manager, Amina, was in here earlier, and she is just a little doll baby. Oh, there, she'd already dropped it, or she did it before I did it. It's exodusasap.com to get all the information. Exodus ASAP works in the way that, like, if you want to join for a month and then not be in there for next month and then come back maybe 6 months later, you can do that. But we want you to have a good start, a good foundation for your move, right? So if you're looking to move and you're a Black woman, come hang out with us, get the information you need about the visas you're interested in or the countries you want to go to, get in community with women who are doing the same thing. Get in community. If you want to move abroad, get in community. If you're a Black woman who wants to move abroad, get in community with Black women who are moving abroad. That's what you need to do. All right, let me see. When is the France chat? Friday? Thursday? What is the date? I don't know. It's this week. Does Exodus ASAP provide references for facilitator assist with Mexico INM? We have a facilitator that we use. We have a resource section. So for every talk that we have, like if someone comes in to talk to you about Jamaica and they help people move to Jamaica, we'll put their information in the resource center. If they had someone who helped them get their visa, we'll put the information of the person who helped them in their visa. So it's a very like community sourced resource section, right? Someone has used this person. If they're in here, our person has helped a lot of people, and our women are very, very happy with her. So yes, we do have a facilitator recommendation in Exodus ASAP. Oh, Francis today. What do I know? Y'all be knowing stuff that I do not know. Francis, if it's today, so Francis in like an hour and 15 minutes. Thank you for knowing the things. All right. That's not where we're stopping. If I were you, if I wanted to bop around, we're going back to bopping around. If I were bopping around, I would look at places where I could get a long-term visa, longer than 3 months, maybe even a month. I would start, okay, leaving the US, I promise you, this is gonna sound crazy. Yes, Classy Hacker, you can sign up in time. It takes a minute to sign up. And then you'll get the information. I would get a visa and I'd bop around to places where currently my passport will let me in for over 3 months. When you first start bopping around, you're going to want to go to all the places real quick, but you're also going to be tired. You're tired from a life of living in the US and being super tired and exhausted and wanting to do the things and not having the resources to do the things because you're exhausted all the time. You're going to be tired. So, like going to a place where you can hang out for 3 months, 6 months, a year, 10 years is really going to be good for your health. So, I would start Googling and figuring out where I can go. Or, like, I hate doing this because the State Department, if you go, I don't like sending you to Google because it's got some of the information out there. It's just aggregating information. Some of it's not going to be correct. I did a Google search every day and I forgot to do minus AI. I usually do minus AI, so I don't see the AI results. I screenshot the AI results and sent them to the search I did. I sent them to Adelia. We were trying to go to this museum, and we know the museums only open on museums was closed for years, and now it's only open on Fridays. We know this because we spoke to multiple staff people in person. The AI results were like, the museum is open from Tuesday to Saturday, and this time we're like, that was probably true pre-COVID, maybe like 6-7 years ago. This was true, and this is what the AI results give me. Ew. I said to her, and she was like, "What is this nonsense?" I was like, "What? This is the first thing the AI results gave me, like the clip that Google does when they include the AI results in your search." I was like, "This is just nonsense and a lie," and people are going to get their feelings hurt trying to go on a Tuesday when it's only open on Friday. And then it wasn't even open on Friday because there was a protest. So it's not going to be open for weeks now. We found out by actually going in person. Anyhow, I'm about to say, you can Google this. Do not use AI for your searches about how to enter a country. Because it depends on where you're coming from, where you're going, what passport you have, what country you're passing through. All these things can matter. They don't always matter, but they can matter. So I want you to go to the State Department's website. I hate doing this because sending you to any U.S. government website feels like a betrayal of who I am as a person. But I'm going to drop the link right now. If you want to know, if this will open up, if you want to know where you can, this is it. If you want to know how long you can stay in a country on a tourist visa, this is what you do. You go to the tourist visa info. You go there. Oh, nope. You type the country's name in, and it will give you the information. They will tell you how long you can be there on a tourist visa. And if you need to get a visa ahead of time, it will tell you. As of right now, the State Department's website is still accurate. The government is a shit show, so who knows how long that's going to last. But right now, I still believe in it more than I believe in random Googling. Yes, you can admit AI searches from your Google results from your Google searches. At the end of it, just type minus and AI. That you can't put a space in there, but minus needs to be right next to the AI, and you will not get AI results. I forgot to do it, and I was mad when I saw it. I'm like, you don't have people out here knocking on the door of this federal building on a Wednesday, and they're going to get a gun in the face. I mean, not really, but they're going to have a security guard walk out with a gun like, no, you're not getting it. Get away from us. Like, truly, get away from us. So yes, I do not like sending you to a State Department website, but it has the information you need about how long you can be there on tourist visas. It has always been accurate and up to date because they don't want you going to a country and getting like in trouble, because they're not going to help you when you get in trouble in another country. They're not going to do anything to help you. So they don't want you getting in trouble. So thank you. Yes, these are actually traditional Indian earrings. My friend who is staying here is Indian, and she said the name for them earlier, something with a G, and I can't remember. But yes, thank you. You didn't. My link didn't work. Did my link work for any of the rest of you, or is it not working for everybody? Musan asks, do you still feel like countries in Europe are okay to consider if U.S. relations kind of tense right now? I feel like if you want to be in a European country, you need to find a way to get residency now. Today, and not wait. Because most countries, historically, in the before times, most countries want to appear, it's important to them to appear stable for a variety of reasons. It's important for them to appear stable and safe for people to work, to do business that attracts foreign companies and foreign money, and people invest in the country, all these good things that countries generally like. So usually, it's rare for people to have people who are in the country legally be forced out. But y'all's president just did that to people who his predecessor gave the legal right to be here. So I don't. I think that other countries, I suspect we're going to see some tit for tat, but it's not going to be as bad, right? I think it's going to be rare to see US citizens who have a legal right to be in a country get forced out, unless they're, buying up all the land and like putting the babies in a work camp. But like if you're just living there, it's not a thing that historically generally happens unless there's a huge upheaval in a country, right? There are places where it's happened, where like there's some kind of like ethnic conflict and sometimes an ethnic cleansing. But that's in the history of a world rarer than people who have immigrants in countries just living there and going about their day. But we have seen how quickly one country. Never mind. We're not doing that today because I'm not going to get worked up. So yes, I think you can still get into Europe now. It's still fine to go there now. Figure out where you want to get a visa. France has great student visas. Look at all that stuff, right? But don't put it off. Don't put it off. If you are a nationalized US citizen, it's your time to shine. Go get you another passport. So when our facilitator came in to speak about Mexico yesterday, she told me something that I didn't know about getting citizenship in Mexico because I'd never considered it. Because I'm already a citizen of one country. What else do I need? Come on, leave me alone. What else do I need? But now in the past 2 months, I've realized I do need to make sure I have other passports because I'm a naturalized citizen and my US passport apparently can get snatched. at any time, at any border, any US border. Someone could just, or it could just get, I don't know, deleted in a computer somewhere. And because the US is the country with the most freedoms in the world, I might not even know about it. My citizenship that I have could just get, my passport could just get deleted. My citizenship could just be terminated, and I wouldn't. What are they gonna do? Besides wait for me to show up in the border so they can deport me. Anyway, I hadn't thought about getting Mexican citizenship, but I'm thinking about it now. And I thought about what I need to do to make sure that if I apply for it next year, I would be able to get it. And so I'm not saying that I'm definitely going to do it. I'm saying that I'm going to look at the passports that would be easier for me, like where I was born, where my parents were born. And if those prove to be problematic, or if I see some real benefits in getting a Mexican passport, Mexican citizenship, and a Mexican passport, I will consider it because I'll be eligible next year. But I am like, maybe I need to change some things. The thing I would need to change is how much I'm outside of Mexico this year. I might change some things in order to be in Mexico more so that I could apply for citizenship next year. We'll see. We'll see. The thing is, like, I want to I want a strong passport. The US ain't shit, but it's got a strong passport. Not the strongest one. There are much stronger passports in the world. Yeah, someone asked about if a world passport is better than a US passport. Maybe what's a world passport? I don't know that. There are much stronger passports in the world, but a US passport isn't, stronger than a lot of others. So I have enjoyed my time with it. Yes, Carmen J, another new Mexican. Wait. Another new Mexican. Senorita. So, yes. Temporary versus permanent residency. If you're talking about Mexico, whatever you can get. I applied for permanent, but they said, and I had enough money saved to make the permanent requirements, but the guy was like, "You're too young." Okay. I'm not going to argue with you long enough to be older, right? So, okay. Great. I got temporary for 1 year, renewed it for 3 years. This year, I'll do permanent. And if I want citizenship, I can get it next year, or I can save my permanent residency for the rest of my life. Yes, this is a good point. Dee wanted to drive for car rent, so she had temporary residency, not permanent residency. There are pros and cons for each one, but unless you have like a ton of stuff, no. The program that they did not get them permanent residency. It got them 4 years of temporary residency. And then they can switch automatically, not automatically, just like some paperwork, to permanent residency. The link for Exodus ASAP is, oh, no, that is not the link. Give me a second. It's exodusasap.com. How old do you have to be to get permanent? However old the person working at the desk says at the time. Sometimes it's not age, but it's permanent income, right? Do you have a permanent income source like a pension? And so, like, you was just like, no, you're not old enough. I didn't bother asking the age because what were we gonna do? The man says I'm not old enough. Okay. These are all really great questions. No, I'm not too young because in temporary to permanent is just the passing of 4 years. And that's why I wasn't tripping when he said that. He said, you're too young to get permanent. I'm not going to give it to you. You meet every other qualification, but you're too young. He was a bad man or a man having a bad day. I don't know. Either way, he was not in the mood for any conversation. Cool. I'm good. Because I know that after 4 years, the switch to from temporary to permanent is just this. So either I can argue with him here now, and maybe he says no to temporary just to be a jerk, or I can just wait 4 years and get permanent. And there's very few, there were no differences for me, right? There were no differences for me. So, okay, so Carmen J says, Philadelphia concept was 62 years of age and proof of retirement. And proof of retirement, both. Now, what will they say when you're in there in person? Who knows? Everybody said, like, that's part of getting residency in Mexico. You just, it's always something. All right. So we're going to get out of here. We talked about this for a long time. I'm going to sum this up real quick. I'm going to do a Stephanie Perry summary. I want you to think about, do the math of how much money you have, how much money you need. How much money you have, how much money you need. If you don't need more money than you have to take a break for a year or 4 outside of the US, because sometimes this how much money you need is going to change based on where you decide to live, a lot of times. So if you can decide to live in a place that is inexpensive enough for you to not work, don't work, chill. I want you to consider taking a break from work. If you're not going to take a break, I want you to consider starting your own business and taking that business on the road. I want you to consider a gig job, like Stephanie's video yesterday, which I served earlier, which I searched, I guess I provided earlier. And then I want you to consider a remote job like Libria's, like if you haven't worked with Libria yet, look at her remote work bundle and see whether that's something you want to invest in. I want you to give yourself a date to leave the country, right? Like May of this year, getting out. I want you to think about ways you can make it easier for yourself now or make it easier for yourself there. So start house sitting now. Yolanda, who moved to Spain, did not pay for housing for a year before she moved because she was house sitting in America. Imagine how much money she saved by not paying for housing for a year. A year. And then if you want to live somewhere permanently, start looking at the visas they have. If you can't qualify for a visa for your number 1 place, what's your number 2 place? Can you qualify for a visa there? And then I want you, if you want to bop around the globe, I want you to start looking at the places that are attractive to you, that fit your budget, that fit your timeline, that you can stay in for a long time, like the Schengen zone in Europe. If you want to be in Europe, you can be there on a US passport 90 out of every 180 days. So you can go there for 90 days, go somewhere else for 90 days, and you're back in Europe for 90 days. You could do this bouncing back and forth. As far as I understand, you could do that forever. You could do that forever. It's 90 days in, 90 days out, bouncing around all through. A great time. Kicking of Kim says she set up her Fiverr account yesterday while watching Stephanie's live. Kim is getting out of here. And then I want to drop the link. I'm going to drop the link again to Libria's bundle, remote ready bundle. Libria. Ugh. My cramps are coming in waves. So if I seem like I can't talk, I might be like my uterus trying to murder me. All right. Committed to the journey. If you want, you have to be a Black woman to be in the caravan. You have to be a Black woman to be in Exodus ASAP, but we're not stopping you from bringing your partner or your children. right? We're also not stopping you from doing like an unofficial caravan with other women in the community. The caravan is just a drive down together and staying in places. You could stay in your own place with your partner. If you're gonna take a man with you, figure it out. But no, there's no rule that you cannot bring other people with you. You just have to work it out in a way that is like cool with everybody in the group. Oh, and Kim said Libya's community is a game changer. Okay, so I'm gonna get out of here. If you're in the membership, we are gonna meet. I'm gonna set up a link right now. I am gonna do that. I'm hungry. And I'm doing a staycation today, so I'm about to go check into a hotel. Boop, 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 boop. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for being community with me. Thank you for being good. When we were in Vietnam, the Vietnamese people loved us. Loved us. Now, once again, y'all know I don't really have great things to say about Vietnam. Hoi An. While we were in Hoi An, the Vietnamese people loved us. And I know it's because as Black women, when we go abroad, we treat others how we want to be treated. And it's really important to us, right? Generally, this is a huge, huge oversimplification and generalization, but it is true. I know that when you move abroad, I don't know that any other community always has people in the comments saying, but how can I move abroad without gentrifying? Them other people not worried about it. They are not worried about it. And the fact that you guys are thinking about it is what's going to make you good neighbors and good community members. And I'm so proud of you for that. I'm so proud of you that you ask those questions because they're important. But the fact that you're asking those questions tells me that you guys are going to be okay. You're going to be all right. All right. Okay. Getting out of here. Community, I'm going to send you members. I'm going to send you a link in a little bit. Committed to the Journey is a new member. Welcome, welcome. I'll see you on the Zoom in a few minutes. Bye-bye. See you guys. Block the trolls in your own life. You can do it. Even if it's just blocking them in your mind if you can't block them in person.